Today with Shannon here, owner of Shannon Educational Consulting Curriculum and Tutoring. Today is August the 18th, 2025, and this is a really quick little mini lesson tutorial video for educators and teachers and homeschooling parents and teachers and principals and those people who are interested in my philosophy of education. At the elementary level, those are interested in, based on my hours and hours and hours of research on the most effective strategies to use in the classroom. And so just give a little bit of background on myself, as I said before in some of the videos that I did. I spent hours and hours and hours when I first became a teacher trying to find the most effective strategies to use in the classroom, working with elementary level students and basically how to teach them to read and write in the most effective manner. So this just kind of sums up a lot of what I've learned during that time. For those who are interested in learning what inspired me to be able to create my business and all the stories and games and graphic organizers and songs and skits and lesson plans and children's stories that are aligned with educational objectives and all the assessments and projects that are on my website, shannonconsultingcurriculumtutoring.com. So this just sums it up. So throughout my academic career, I've studied, the top gurus of education, even in college and beyond. We know Piaget. I'm talking about his philosophy of education, as well as Dewey, talking about his experiential philosophy of education and his belief in inquiry, connect to educational experiences and hands-on instruction and critical thinking and problem solving and working with real life activities and examples in the classroom to be able to help students to be able to connect what they're learning to real authentic experiences, not just the traditional route that often we see in classrooms all the time. And we're talking about Piaget's in his theory of the students learn in stages. They don't just come to the classroom just full of ideas, and there's a process in which students come to the classroom. And if you understand it as an educator, that second through second graders, or I'm sorry, age 2 through 7th, they're a developmental level, and then from 7 and beyond that into teenage years, there's a developmental level, which is the formal operative level. And then after that, from adolescence to adulthood, there's the concrete level. So he talks about the status in which students grow. And so as an educator, if you know that students don't come to your classroom just full of knowledge and that they're all the same, that they have different developmental levels of cognitive ability, then when you approach your instructional classroom, then you're able to understand that. So it's just give you some background of some of my experiences as many educators that we learned when we were in college and all that and everything. Maria Montessori talking a little bit about her philosophy of education and how she talked about how, have student formatted and student centered instructional hands-on activities for students to do in small groups and individually, set up classroom set up with, student size desk and material and furniture, and that students learn at their own pace, working in small groups, working individually on projects that have been pre-prepared in a classroom focused and centered environment. Talking about her philosophy approach, as well as people like Gardner. I love Gardner. He's wonderful, talking about his and addressing all the academic needs of students and all the cognitive, multidimensional learning styles of students. The kinesthetic and the visual and all the logical, mathematical reasoning skills and the strengths that all students bring to the classroom, and pointing out to a variety of those different um, strategies in all your lessons that you do combined together, and multitasking those in every single lesson that you do, so that all your students' needs are met. Because you understand, as an educator, that students don't all come to with the same level, similar to what I just stated, that when you're addressing all these different theorists together and all these different learning theories together in your classroom, that you're creating a diverse, inclusive, and you're creating a multidimensional type of way of addressing all the needs of all your students. So you're differentiating instruction in a way that all the needs of your students are met, no matter what level they come at. So just talk a little bit briefly. I know this is kind of long-winded, but just give you an idea of my philosophy about what made me create Shannon Consulting Curriculum Tutoring and all that and everything. I just want to talk a little bit about the National Reading Panel, which was what was really inspired me a lot, as well as the science of learning. It's and creating my curriculum and everything that I've written. A lot of it is not even on my website yet. I'm just going to be adding to it as the years go by, as the months go by. And so the science of the National Reading Panel talked about how there were 16. They did a study, a 6-month study on what it takes to make students successful in the classroom as far as reading and writing instruction. And so they found that there were 7 solid foundations, strategies that teachers need to use to be able to assist students in the classroom. And so one of those was students being able to generate questions to themselves, ask themselves, do I understanding this information that I'm reading? So teacher asks students questions and receives immediate feedback. These are graphical organizers, understanding story structure and how stories or how stories are organized and how they're formatted. Talking about the student's ability to be able to effectively summarize text information. Those are just several of the pillars of the most solid foundation that students need to be able to learn. And then I also like to add nonfiction story structure as well. I think that's an important one, even though they didn't find that in their findings. And then also talking about writing instruction, the importance of being able to combine reading and writing instruction. And then also I learned to throughout my studies, including the National Reading Panel, authentic literature experiences. That's why you'll see, if you look on my website, you'll see all my children's stories are written, like the Unbreakable Friendship that combines the objective of inferencing with that particular objective story, and the Dream that Changed Sanderville, which takes fiction text structure and takes that objective along with the lesson, and then the Real Princess, which talks about inferencing and character trait studies. So I've written children's stories that are aligned with the objectives they were supposed to learn, because I started to learn through my research that combine authentic literature experiences with real information that students need to master. Combine that together is kind of effectively help students critically think and pull that together and problem solve. Then taking information like graphic organizers and added to that, and presenting the information in different format in a visually appeasing way, makes that come together more smoothly. And then going back to, you know, Juby's hands-on information, experimental and inquiry-based learning. So, and connecting to real life experiences. So you might invite somebody in the classroom that connects what they're learning to something in real life, like maybe somebody comes from the bank and do some hands-on. Here's schools that have banks in their school, and they give children's checking accounts and things like that. So as you develop that foundation, it's important that elementary students have that foundation, and then as you build upon that and grow, students get that foundation. Then you start bringing real life experiences, examples in the classroom, and talking about so that as they get older in middle school and high school, and even in some elementary schools, trying to connect that traditional setting that we talk about and we learned about, that we see in a lot of our schools, with those hands-on activities and field trips and experimental learning by designing projects and experiments, and inviting people to the classroom and taking them out into the community and doing projects that extend what they're learning in the classroom. One year, we took our kids to the IMAX theater, and they were able to see whales after we did a research report on whales in the classroom. Then the students extended that, and we had one year I had somebody from Kenya come to my classroom and talk to my students about what we're learning in class about Kenya and the people and the all types of interesting activities about the capital and the interesting people in the community and the celebratory events that were going on in Kenya at that time and all that and everything. And then that student came to talk to the class, and then that extended what we're learning through that real life interview with a person from that time. And then the students were able to write research reports that extend what they're learning in the classroom, all that together. So I just wanted to kind of give an idea, like a synopsis of many of the philosophers of education. But my favorite, I think, is Bloom, because Bloom talks about how you have a hierarchy of thinking stems, and then you build upon the knowledge level, and you build upon those as the student go higher, higher, and up. And that really combines it all together, what all these are really saying. So once you give the students that foundation, which is why I believe the traditional approach is so important. Once you do that and combine it all together, really, then you can build upon that and perhaps the students present it and learn it and master it, and then demonstrate their understanding of it in a different way. So that's why your start, if you have students learn at the knowledge level, the basic definition, and then you have them present in a different way by doing a, project or PowerPoint on, or creating a digital dictionary on, or whatever, or having them do a film or a skit to restate the information in a different way, and or a graphic organizer, or do a project in what they've learned in a different way at a higher level, or plan a proposal in a different manner to show that they understand or critically judge the situation in a different manner. Then they're building upon that foundation, and they show they really understand the information, which just means that the students have reached the highest level of being able to understand the information. So the given idea, so you can see if you look on my website, Shannon Consulting Curriculum Tutoring, I have graphic organized, I have songs, I have games, I have skits, the man idea rap, the figurative language rap, the prefix and rhyme, all types of raps and assessments and activities and verbal response question sheets. Is really wonderful. To help students practice their verbal communication skills, like what I'm doing right now, practicing that. And so if you look at my website, buy a product, you'll see this is going to, they're all based upon research, most effective strategies to use, and I'm going to be continuing to add to those as the months go by. So I hope you enjoy that. And it's just a synopsis, a summary of a lot of the information I've learned throughout the years. And I'm going to listen to this and see if it sounds okay. Have a great day.